We currently have internet access, so we will proceed with the meeting. Call the meeting to order of the April Fargo Park Board meeting. Moving on to B, approve the order of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as written. Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. Is there any concerns with that?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any discussion?
I just want to mention item D there, leased transfer to H.A. Thompson. I just appreciate the work you guys did on that and trying to work it out and make it work so we could keep that arena open. Obviously, it was a number of meetings, and it's a good thing to keep that arena going. So thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? Jeff, please pull the board.
Commissioner Rosted,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan,
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Deutsch.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to the recognition of the audience. Are there any members of the audience that would like to speak today? Okay, perfect. Just give me a quick second here. At this time, the board will hear comments from the public. We ask that each speaker who has signed up to address the board come up to the microphone and state their name and address for the record. We would also ask that the speaker refrain from using this forum to criticize or complain about a specific employee by name. The board is interested in your comments and will listen carefully, but is not obligated to respond to or debate issues in this forum. Should you desire a written response to a specific question, you may request it. This evening, each speaker will be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes. And as a point of order, if any speaker wishes to talk later in the agenda, comments are limited only to the agenda item at hand, and speakers must be first recognized by only the Fargo Park Board President before coming to the microphone. Otherwise, the speaker may be ruled out of order and additional measures may be taken up to or including removed from the meeting. The Fargo Park Board President, however, does not have to engage in dialogue with the additional speakers. We ask that you respect this request and act accordingly.
Could you say a little bit more about that?
Well, and there's a whole insinuation that this is going to be a negative thing.
Yeah, Alex.
And I don't
come
mean
up to
that
the
at all.
micro.
So I'm excited to hear from you, sir. Step up to the microphone, please, and give us your name and address, and then go ahead and.
Hi, my name's
Sure.
Al Ness, 1683 20th Avenue Northeast, Sauk Rapids, Minnesota,
Oh.
56379.
Thank you.
So I was a track upper in the mid-90s up in Grand Forks. I was the one that helped get that track going, and it's been moved twice, but they're still in operation right now. I'm talking about BMX tracks.
Oh, okay.
And so BMX is an Olympic sport. It's been since 2008 with the Beijing Games. And Fargo is the biggest city in the state, and it seems kind of a shame that Fargo doesn't have a track. And there hasn't been a track in the area in 14 years. That's been a while. And I'm not asking that you like just kind of try to find a patch of land somewhere where you can put a track, because the last track Fargo had was down by 52nd Avenue Bridge, and it was on the floodplain, and that's not a good spot for a track. It washed away the first year, second year was gone. And so what I'd like you to do is a feasibility study with the Isanti, Minnesota Rum River BMX track. They have an indoor facility, and Isanti has like 7,000 people in the town. It's a pretty small town, but somehow they built a world-class BMX track, and it's been #1 track in the country. I think they're like 3 years in a row they've had that award. And what they did was they built the track. The city wanted to see if they'd support the racers, which in the town of Fargo size, for sure that would happen. The volunteers and the racers would just show up if there's a track. And then they decided to put like a tin building over top of it. And it cost like $3 million, I think was a cost on it. But the way they have it going now is the entry fees for practice, for racing, for private parties. There's like a private bike shop in there. They pay rent. That pays for the building. I mean, you use the ATM, the snack bar, they pay for the building. The 50/50 tickets pay for the building. And there, you can rent a bike if you don't have a bike for $4, and that helps pay for the building. So they're doing their best to pay the building off on their own, and it's a very well-run track. And so that's what I'd like you to do, is like a feasibility of where you could put a track and the possibility of enclosing it, because then you can get year-round racers from South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, all over the place. And if it's indoors, their track is indoors and it's a tin building, so you could put it in the industrial park and it'd just fit right in there. It wouldn't have to be on park land. It could be anywhere that's city owned, you know. But the problem, you can't have it where it's rental, because, you know, they pull the rug out from underneath you and there goes the track. I think I covered everything.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Well, yeah, well, no, if you want to stick for 1 second, we appreciate your comments. We appreciate your love for recreation, or at least I for sure do. And you sound extremely passionate, and like you've spent a lot of time and energy supporting
Oh, yeah.
it. So, and that's great. So, Dave is, Beats is our deputy director, and he has some experience with that. So maybe you two could, I mean, we don't have to discuss it tonight, but if you guys could just link up and maybe discuss something along those lines in the future, that'd be great.
Well, I also mentioned that Isanti has like 5 corporate sponsors, and the one in Grand Forks, which is by Alaris, they have Hugo's as their corporate sponsor. And I wrote 10 letters to like Shields and Bobcat and the Sanford Foundation. Nobody replies back. But if there was a track in the process,
Sure.
the corporate sponsors would come in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else from the audience that would like to be recognized? Stacy? Oh, no. Okay.
That's what I thought too.
All right. Moving on to the director's report. Susan.
Good evening, Commissioners. I just have a couple updates for you tonight. So the first is on our strategic plan. We're at the point in the process where our writing teams are actually working on the strategic plan. The writing teams have met and will continue to meet until we have a draft plan that we will be presenting to the board. The writing team is really establishing, the focus right now is establishing the key definitions for the strategic initiatives that have been created. Those are organizational excellence, places and spaces, and relationships. We've asked some of our staff to be team captains, and those team captains have created their own teams that will be working on each of those 3 different strategic initiatives. Once the definitions are established and we really confirm all of those subcategories that will fall under those strategic initiatives, we'll really then dive into developing goals for the Park District and defining what those goals mean for us. The writing teams are also working on refining our vision statement, and then we are working on our values. We presented the work that the Strategic Planning Committee did on values at the leadership team meeting to get input from all members of our leadership team. And then we're now kind of prioritizing those, and we'll bring them back through and then send all of the information out to the Strategic Planning Committee to get kind of that final feedback from the larger Strategic Planning Committee. The timeline, we are still working on presenting a draft at facilities at either the May or June meeting, and then hopefully final approval would be at that following board meeting. Just another quick update on the governance policy. So this is another planning process that we've been working on and just recently kicked off. We're in the very early stages. We have just established a task force that will be working on this governance policy. It's made up of, it'll be President Deutsch and Commissioner Hill will represent the board. And then as far as staff, it'll be the executive leadership team. And of course, Dr. Schatz leading that. And what we've done so far is really just provided Dr. Schatz with some background information. We have provided him with just job descriptions, kind of the committee assignments, code of ethics for the board, and then any training information that the Park District has used in the past. And really the next steps will be our kickoff meeting that I believe has been scheduled for May 1st. There will be a total of probably 4 to 5 meetings. I know that we are still working on finalizing those dates for the task force to meet. And then Dr. Schatz will be presenting a draft set of policies that the task force will be reviewing, providing input on, and then bringing that through the full board. And then the last update is on golf. Everyone, the sun is shining, the grass is turning green with the recent rain, but all 5 golf courses will be open by the end of the week. Rose Creek opened last week, Prairiewood opened today, and we have Edgewood that will open tomorrow, starting at 10 o'clock, and then Osgood and El Zago will be opening Friday at 10 a.m. So we're really excited about opening up the courses and getting people outside and enjoying the great weather.
When did we open last year again? Anybody remember?
August.
July 1st.
A
what it
lot
felt
later
like.
than this week.
April 28th
But that's
to May
still pretty
5th.
good considering the snow last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
But I'm guessing even that late and we didn't have weather like this yet. It was still,
Yeah.
it was the
Yeah.
diehards that were out there with gloves on in the wind and cold, so. Thank you.
Yep, those are the only updates I have, unless they have any questions.
Thank you, thank you. All right, moving on to our guests, the Fargo Moorhead Trailblazers will be presenting.
Trail builders.
Trail Builders, sorry, what did I say, Trailblazers?
Mhm, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Kind of trailblazers.
Well, you know, you Trail Builders are Trailblazers too, right? I mean, if you weren't, Lawrence Robinson and Tim Krieg are presenting, so come on up, gentlemen.
Kind of goes along with the BMX thing.
Mhm.
Huh? I mean,
Yeah.
it is bike night.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Lawrence Robinson. I've been a volunteer with the Fargo Moorhead Trail Builders for the past 8 years and currently serve as the president for the organization. I retired from international sales and distribution during the pandemic, and I'm now do finish carpentry as a hobby. And I also work at the Fargo Parks facility at Prairiewood Golf Course. Today was my first official day on the payroll.
Whoa, our newest employee.
Yep, it was a great day. The golf course was packed, so that was good. And the kids came out from Davies and from South High, so they're having a blast out there. And I also volunteer as a mountain bike coach for our local high school team called the Wolves. And then joining me this evening for the presentation is Tim Krieg. Tim is on our board. He's been a volunteer with the Trail Builders for the past 6 years and has played a tremendous role in helping us with grant applications, trail maintenance, and played a pivotal role in getting the Forum Tower Loop built in South Fargo. He also is one of our trail bosses at Iwan, Lions, and the Tower Loop, together with Tom Hellman, the founder of FMTB, or Fargo Moorhead Trail Builders, that was established in 2010. So as you can tell, we've been doing this for a while. I'd like to start off by thanking Fargo Parks for the tremendous amount of support that we receive from you as an organization and from the individuals. People like you, Sam Demaray down in the forestry department has been of tremendous help to us. We appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening to provide you an update on our trails. And the last time we met was in 2021 when we were presented with an award for completing the Iwan Trail down south. And during that meeting, it was suggested that FMTB apply for a Fargo Park District Foundation grant, which we subsequently did. And here is just an example of what we did with some of the funding that we received from that grant. We purchased a beautiful storage building that is located at your maintenance facility on University Drive at Rose Creek. And I can't begin to tell you what a difference this has made for our volunteers. Having a storage facility in close proximity to the trails has made an immense difference for us. And prior to the storage facility arriving, Fargo Parks did a great job in preparing that site for us. They literally dropped the building off, set it up quickly, and we were ready to move our equipment into that facility. On the right, you can see some of the equipment we store there. We've got a snow dog. That's the equipment on the left there. That's got the camouflage on it. That's used for grooming the fat bike trails during the winter. Unfortunately, it didn't get any use this year. Once. And it also stores our brush mower, our utility vehicle, and all the hand tools that we need to maintain the trail. So thank you very much for all the support that you continue to provide to the trail builders. So tonight, I'd just like to give you an update on who we are, what we do, what are we currently working on, and then just to touch on some of our future needs based on feedback that we receive from our users and from the community. So FM Trail Builders was established in 2010 as a 501c nonprofit organization. We currently have 70 members that volunteer with us, and we annually raise around $10,000 a year for the equipment that we need and for the maintenance of that equipment during the season. 100% of our donations go towards our mission. We don't have any paid staff at this point. That is something that might change over the next 12 to 18 months. I'll touch base on that when we talk about your future needs and give you an update there. Our mission is simply to build, maintain, and promote off-road trails or natural surface trails in the Fargo-Moorhead area. We currently maintain 7 miles of trail in South Fargo. So that's at Iwan South, Iwan North, Lions Conservancy, and the Forum Tower Loop. And then on the Moorhead side, we have an additional 9 miles of trail that we maintain on that end. So although 16 miles in total doesn't sound that much, once we start pushing our brush mower and clearing both sides of a trail, clearing 32 miles of trail 2 to 3 times each summer, it becomes a bit of work. So our goal is really to get people outdoors and improve the quality of life for our community. If we look at our score rating for Region 5 in our area, I mean, 86% of households in the Fargo-Moorhead area would like to see dedicated walking, biking, and hiking trails. And we feel we play an important role in fulfilling that need. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the 4 seasons of trail building. I moved here from South Africa 21 years ago, and every single spring has started with a flood, touch wood. And the season really starts with trail cleanup. We spend most of May, April and May, just going in and clearing the trail from all the flood debris that has washed in. And then we also start, rebuilding features. The gentleman before me, mentioned the fact that, these features tend to wash away. So, it's an ongoing battle. Some might say it's insanity that we're expecting a different outcome, but at least we got a break this year, I hope. So, during the summer, we typically mow the trail 2 to 3 times a year during the summer, and also then go back with a blower to clear that trail. And then there's constant maintenance after every windstorm or major thunderstorm. We work closely with the forestry department to clear any large trees or limbs that have come down on the trail. And your department, forestry department, do a great job. It usually doesn't take a day or 2 before the trail is cleared and our users can start enjoying that. So, and then from there we go over to the fall season, and that's a great time once everyone's back from the lakes. Temperatures have dropped and the mosquitoes don't carry us away. That's usually a good time for trail expansion and for building new features. And from there, we start hoping for snow. So usually October, we're still riding, but we can't wait for snow to fall. And by the time we get 2 to 3 inches of snow, we've got a dedicated team of volunteers that will immediately go out after a blizzard, and they'll start stomping the trail for us with their snowshoes and their hawk skis. And that then allows the operator with a snow dog to come back and groom the trail. Grooming the trails usually happens at night, around 7, 8 o'clock at night. It's an amazing experience. It's just you out there. Temperatures might be below 0. you get right up to deer and they just look at you because they don't know what's going on. So yeah, if ever you'd like to groom a trail during the winter, please reach out to us. We'd love to show you the
Hey,
ropes.
Jerry, I think this goes as the next thing on your bucket list after the Zamboni.
Jerry
yeah, I
just
mean-
volunteered. Yeah, or Vicky
Yes.
volunteered Jerry.
Got another volunteer? Excellent.
Yes.
So yeah, it's really a year-round activity with different users coming out depending on the time of year. So that's that. Okay. Numbers are a little bit unclear over here. This is some data that Sam shared with us regarding the counter that we have down at Iwan that Parks Board has down there. And what we're seeing is that the trails being used down at South Iwan, on average, about 6,700 users in a 6-month period use that part of the trail. And we look forward to receiving some updated trail this summer, and wouldn't be surprised if we're looking at 15 to 20,000 users. We don't know if someone goes past a counter twice. It's obviously going to count them twice, but I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking at that 15,000 people using that part of the trail throughout the year. So an update on what are we working on at the moment. So with the recent erosion control and securing that embankment at University and 52nd Avenue, down south, we're going to work on reestablishing a trail from the boat ramp all the way around to where it reconnects to what we call car trouble. So if you've ever hiked along the river on that section, you'll find that there's some old vehicles that got stuck along the riverbank there. We call that car trouble. So we'll establish a new trail there. And I'm sure some kids will have a story to tell about how those cars ended up there. So the beautiful part of the trail. So we also have applied for a RTP, a Recreational Trail Program grant through the North Dakota Parks for expanding the trail on the south side of town between Lemke and the Tower Loop. So a little bit update on that. We've been working with Sam to look at the opportunity of building a 4 to 5 mile trail in that section. I know, Tim, if you could provide us some information on just that section of the trail on the South River Prairie Trail.
Yes. So we've been asked actually by Fargo Parks to expand the trails from where 40th Avenue is. That's kind of like the northmost point of the Forum Tower. Forum Communications owns that land. We built a trail there, about a mile loop. And we want to expand north to connect to the Lemke walking trail. I think there's a 3/4 mile trail going from the boat ramp where the rapids are up at Lemke Park, and then it goes into the peninsula. Well, we are going to be connecting the Forum Tower to Lemke and have it loop in there, because that peninsula area in there is actually a larger section of land than the Forum Tower itself. So I think by the time we complete that loop out and back connecting to the Forum Tower, we might be adding anywhere between 4 and 5 miles of additional trail, giving us about 12 miles of continuous single track bike trail. And I know you guys think, wow, that sounds cool, but it's very cool. No, really, you get 12 miles of continuous trail. We're talking a destination. People don't even know Fargo has trails or Moorhead has trails. MB Johnson Trail System is just fabulous. It's beautiful in there. It's a little secret. And then we also have.
How many miles does
Gooseberry.
MB Johnson have? Sorry to interrupt you there, but just curiosity. MB Johnson, how many miles of trail is through there?
5 miles there.
It's 5 there. Okay.
Yeah, it's expanded. They had a little area. It was called like an island that goes over Snaky Creek. And back in 2018, a bridge was made over, and we created another mile loop in there too. And we snow dog it. It stays open. And you have Gooseberry. We snow dog that and do all the maintenance there. And then Horn Park, that's a little bit further south. It's right by the interstate, where the interstate goes over the red there. If you just kind of look down, you'll see it. It's just a little mile loop, but then with all this. So here's the new addition. Okay, so at the very bottom left, that's where our current trail ends. And then this is kind of gives you an idea of what we can do. And
So is that about 40th Avenue at the bottom?
Yep. So it's a little bit north of that, but yeah. At the very bottom of the slide, that would be about 40th Avenue. And then up there, that's like the RDO Offutt area up in Hackberry Drive area. And then that's in the top right, that's the loop I was talking about. We're gonna probably get another 1.5 miles out of trail just out of that. And then coming back down and then going back north, there's an area called the South River Prairie. It's like a new park. And it's labeled on Google Maps. And I live in this neighborhood. As a matter of fact, yeah, there's a little heart there. That's my house. So
I think there should be a laser pointer on the.
yeah, I didn't know how that worked.
I see your house.
Yeah, right there. My dog's probably barking
know
right
who
now.
I know who lives by you.
Okay, but anyway, yeah. So all this here is kind of like a prairie grass area, and all this here is very wooded, and we know how to build wooded trails very well. But this area right here, we're actually going to be consulting with a professional trail building company, and he's going to walk through this and give us design specs, and we're going to come back to Fargo Parks and the engineers and also Army Corps of Engineers and see what is allowed and not allowed. And we want to actually make this a real destination, something that people are going to go, hey, you heard of DL Mountain Trails? Yeah. Have you heard those South Fargo trails? No. Well, you should, because they're awesome. So that's what we're shooting for.
Thanks, Tim.
You bet.
So Tim, we can park in your driveway then with our car and unload our bike?
Thank you.
You won't have to, because the Lions.
Oh, I can bike there.
You can
Yeah.
bike there. The Lions Conservatory has a parking, and there's plans to make that a spectacular place too. And that sits right dead middle of going north or south.
Sure.
So there's some big things we can do here.
Nice.
So one of the requirements for that is we need an updated agreement between Fargo Moorhead Trail Builders and Fargo Parks. And it's my understanding that that agreement has been signed on the Fargo Parks end and is now going to City Commission for approval. Dave?
Correct. And if you remember, commissioners, about a month ago, we approved, these are all city flood buyout lots, so we don't own the property. So we've worked very collaboratively with the city, Public Works and engineering and planning departments have all assisted us in this because of the past success and the partnership with the trail builders. So we got that approval. So that is on the city commission agenda. We've already approved it through our body. It needs still city commission approval. And then that is the first step to allow this trail expansion that Tim just talked about to take place.
Thank you. And then, yeah, we'll apply for the RTP grant for some equipment and the materials that we'll need to build that section of the trail. So I'd just like, I know I'm running late, so I'd just like to talk about some of our future needs. And I think separating one's needs from one's wants is always a challenge. I know every time I walk into the Great Northern Bicycle Company, I see a bike that I want. And the standing joke among cyclists is the number of bikes that you need is actually N+1. So how do you separate those needs from wants? You know, one good thing I would say that came from the pandemic is that more people started going outdoors, seeking recreational opportunities. You know, campgrounds are full. You know, getting a permit to go to the boundary waters has become more challenging. We know that, you know, even finding a tee time, you know, at any of the golf courses, they just fill up immediately. People are going outdoors, and more so now than before. If we look at the fact that, you know, the number of users has increased, we also have to keep into account that a lot of these users are new to outdoor recreation. And when designing a trail system, one needs to keep that in mind. So always make sure it's safe, that there's a safe route around an obstacle, So with, that growth in number of users, we're seeing the needs change. At the same time, we've seen a number of cities in our region that have become destinations for outdoor recreation. One only needs to go out to Detroit Mountain, Cuyuna, Redhead. All of these communities have really embraced outdoor recreation as a way of life. And they all are, competing for tourist dollars, and a lot of that comes from Fargo being the largest city, in the region. So you've got, these two extremes almost. You've got people that are new to biking and hiking, and you've got experienced riders that are saying, we want something more advanced. So when we do go out to Cuyuna or to Giants Ridge, we want to be able to have practiced our skills on some of the local trails. So how do you balance those those wants that people want? Because when you go on our trails, we'll typically refer to them now as cut, rake, and ride. So we go in, we cut where we need to, we rake it, and we start riding. We don't have any advanced trails, and that's why we've reached out to a professional trail builder to help us with the design of this new South River Prairie Trail. There's also been a big push from the community to establish a skills park and a rally center. When they had the TEDx talks here in town last year, there was a lot of activity was generated around that, is how do we make Fargo a destination? And there has been a big push placed on us to figure out how can we build a rally center or a skills park. And that's not something that we're capable of doing. So we'd really like to work closely with the Parks Board as you have plans to expand the trail system along the Red River corridor. If we finally end up with a trail system that goes all the way from Edgewood, behind the VA, all the way down to 52nd and beyond, it'll be wonderful for us to link those trails to some of your Fargo Parks District facilities. I was talking to Cody over at CJ's Tavern at Rose Creek on Saturday, and if they plan on staying open year-round at that restaurant, we need to figure out ways to funnel bikers and hikers to that facility. So, that's the need that we see, is working with various stakeholders to figure out how do we connect trails so that we can have a rally center and it does become more of a destination and not just a park.
What is a rally center?
A rally center is typically where people would be able to hang out, have some food. Maybe everyone enjoys beer, maybe a beverage, but really an area where people can get together, and while some of their family members are out on the trails, they can enjoy visiting with family.
Kind of like a chalet at a
chalet,
ski
yeah,
resort
yeah.
type thing. Okay, got it.
Yes.
So normally when we get together and ride, we'll have group rides all winter long, or Great Northern, they do a lot of group rides and stuff. And every group ride ends up being some place where you hang out socially when you're done. It's not that different than any other activity, but people like to share their stories about the ride and just kind of the camaraderie and do all that. And this new restaurant in Rose Creek, sure, it's there for golfers, but right across the street are our trails. And the nice thing about that location, if it became more of a bike-friendly, advertised establishment, is it's off the road. People could pull up, park their bike, go in, and it's probably not going to get stolen. If you're right on University Drive, people could just walk up and grab it, but you're tucked away back in there. And a lot of cyclists don't know about it. And obviously when that was set up, it was not intended for attracting bicyclists, but it really could happen. You get group rides going on down those trails, and a lot of times it's like different groups. So there might be a group of 5, a group of 10, a group of 15 or more. And if they know about the place across the street, that could happen.
Like you're thinking.
Yeah.
And this a question from the agenda. Can we wait for questions? I'll answer some more questions. I'd just like to wrap up because I know I'm running over. So what's come from all of this is people expressing a need for more. And as an organization, we realize that at this point, we're not set up for that. So our board has been challenged with the task of figuring out what will it take to employ a full-time executive director that could do this from 8 till 5 and not just from 5 till 8. So we'll be spending the next 12 months figuring out how do we go from raising $10,000 a month to potentially $100,000 a month. I thought I put you on silent. Clearly not.
A month or a year?
A year, apologies. How do we go? Because we have to, a month I'll take as well. That's a big challenge for us. So if we're going from 10,000 to 100,000, so we can employ someone with benefits, and then also have enough projects for them to manage. We need to figure out how that can be done. So we are underway on that study to see if it's even possible. And I think that's where we'll have to engage with the various stakeholders, Fargo Parks, MetroCog, Downtown Community Partnership, Shields, various sponsors is the only way we can do that. If we look at advanced trail systems in Minnesota, it really is a strong relationship between the cities, the counties, and private business. So to summarize, I'd just like to say that we realize that although Fargo is unlikely to ever become a mountain bike destination, other cities are competing for our tourist dollars, and that the residents are willing to spend money for outdoor activities. FNTB believes that we can do better with the trails that we have, and that by doing this, we can really attract and retain a 21st century workforce in our area, because that is one of the things we are all tasked in doing if we want to survive. So thank you for that. Open to any questions.
I have a question. Have you been approached at all about the potential, well, there have been consultants in town with the city of Fargo that have mentioned the development of a park that would stretch along the inside of the diversion. Have you been approached at all regarding that subject?
No, we have not been approached. This came up in our discussion with the Downtown Community Partnership and with gentlemen like Greg Tavine, all pushing us really to say, okay, you need to get a full-time executive director because these opportunities are coming and someone's going to take the lead on that. We'd like to see FM Trail Builders be that entity. And we've had to say, okay, well, this is the reason why we need to figure out how do we get some staff on board if we were to engage in a larger undertaking like that.
Very exciting.
It is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you could come up to the podium, please. We have to hit, your question has to be picked up by the microphone. You don't have to reintroduce yourself, but if you want to just ask the question in the microphone, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Just wondering if they'd be open to, going back to the BMX pack, would you be open to like a more aggressive jump section? Is that covered on insurance or rhythm section, that kind of thing?
Yeah, insurance is an important role of every organization. That's one thing we discussed with various stakeholders, that if we ever were to buy a facility or land and have a skills park like that, the insurance will increase significantly. So I think that's one of the reasons we have to be cautious when we undertake these projects, because you could end up exposing yourself to a lot of liability. At the moment, we are covered for the parks that we have an agreement with between Moorhead and Fargo, and for 3 events, including bike races. So it is limited insurance, but at least we have $1 million of insurance available.
All right. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate it. Yep.
One question. So back in, let's say 2020.
You can.
Oh, sorry. It's 2020 or 2021, I did come here where it was right after we built the Iowan and Forum Tower Trail. And we were invited to come just to, Fargo Parks just wanted to show some appreciation, and they thanked us. It was really nice. And that's when we found out about these foundation grants that did fund our shed and almost everything in it, or about half of it anyway.
Yep.
Is that done, Or are those, I mean, those grants, are they, because I got to be pretty good friends with Brian Arrett after that, because I was working with him very closely. And then I think it was right as he was retiring, I reached out to him and he said, well, we're not really doing it anymore. And I didn't know if that was going to pick up again.
So we did put them on hold, but the first couple, we did it for a few years. I can't remember, it was 3. And then we wanted to reevaluate, okay, what are the parameters of this? Are we hitting the right marks? We were just getting the foundation really going at that time. And
Mhm.
so in my mind, it's coming back. It's just a matter of making sure we do it right, that if we're doing matching grants, are the funds going to the right things?
Well, we thought they were.
Well, I have a son who-
And it was great.
I hear you.
And it would help us out
yeah.
again too, if we could have
Yeah.
that opportunity. So
Yeah.
we'd be very interested in knowing if it's ever going to open
I
up
think
again.
the grants did a lot of good things because it got other people to do things to enhance our parks. And so, yeah, I think we're all on board that it's a good idea.
No,
We just want to make sure we build the parameters right and the qualifications and.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's been some organizing the foundation itself, right? We have a full-time executive director there. And so there's been some sort of, like internal kind of work that we've been doing to get that set up. And so I know I kind of came on and I've been, kind of a liaison on the foundation as well. So it's there. But I think, they've been really focused too on the sports center, of course. And kind of once that gets open, I think, we'll evaluate, and we have our strategic plan that we're working on as well. So it'll be
Tim, I'd say stay
TBD, but
tuned.
yeah, stay
Stay
tuned.
tuned.
Okay, good. Because
We had a couple, we rolled it out and it was great when it first came out. Then we had some people and great on them, but kept coming or kept putting back in, and we didn't have any parameters on how often anybody could come or what, what that needed to be size. Plus then we also got into some really so areas that weren't, that were outside of our preview, which were great, but all the more reason to just pull it back for a second and develop parameters. We realized that we rolled it out without the right parameters. And so, as Aaron said, we have a big project that's about to roll out the door, but we've heard nothing but positive feedback from others about wanting to see it again. And we praised the bejesus out of the program when we were putting them out there to people originally. So.
But again,
As Vicky said, stay tuned.
okay, great. Because, like that slide that showed everything in our shed, almost everything you saw in there was stuff that came from the foundation, and we use the heck out of it. And it's very much appreciated. So thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Gentlemen.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add, Lawrence and Tim, you have definitely FM Trail Builders is fortunate to have you with your passion and your commitment. So it definitely showed when you're up here today, and thank you for what you do for FM Trail Builders.
Yeah, I mean, and to reiterate what Jerry says, not only, are you passionate about what you're doing and you're putting in all your time and energy and everything, but you're utilizing lands that, that wouldn't normally be utilized as well. So it's very, it's awesome that not only are you guys following a passion or whatever, but we're putting good use to some land out there. So thank you.
Yeah, I really like it that you're thinking about the future growth of the city and inhabitants. And one of the things that people consider when they're moving here is the weather, of course. And you probably considered that when you moved from South Africa, but that's a high comparison. But I really think that a 4-seasonal approach to everything Parks does and what you are doing is just fabulous. And I had no idea that you have accomplished so much. Somebody needs to write a big story about you.
I did spend a semester in Port Elizabeth, going to UPE, which is now Nelson Mandela University. And so I thought I recognized that accent, and I was going to ask at some point, very, the Afrikaans.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order?
Before we adjourn, just, I don't know, I know I sent it to Susan and Dave and you, but the county is hosting the AI, what is it, kind of a, not conference, symposium when is that?
The 23rd.
23rd, thank you, Jerry. Yeah, AI Symposium on Tuesday, the 23rd from 8:30 to, it looks like noon. And I believe you do have to register, or they ask that you email the gentleman from the county to register, but it's kind of geared towards, I believe, elected officials in the community and staff, higher level staff.
Better be there, Susan.
We have our IT director, A.B.
Perfect.
Longton, has already signed up for that too.
Excellent.
So, yep,
That was the only thing
definitely important.
I had.
Move to adjourn.
So moved. Thank you.